60 Minutes, Rewind.
One thing you can say with certainty about Illinois Senator Barack Obama is that there has never been another presidential candidate like him. He has a foreign-sounding name that rhymes with Osama, his middle name is Hussein, and he's admitted to using marijuana and cocaine as a teenager. Racially, he is half black, half white, and in terms of political experience, green. With just 7 years in the state legislature and 2 in the United States Senate, it would be easy to dismiss him were it not for the fact that he is running second in the polls behind Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination. Yesterday, 17,000 people braved frigid weather to watch him declare his candidacy in Springfield, Illinois, where we joined him on the eve of his speech.
3 years ago, you were a state legislator here in Springfield. What makes you think that you're qualified to be president of the United States?
You know, I think we're in a moment of history where probably the most important thing we need to do is to bring the country together. And one of the skills that I bring to bear is being able to pull together the different strands of American life and focus on what we have in common.
You don't have any doubts that you're ready?
No.
Where do you get all this confidence?
My wife asks me that all the time. So this is the old state capitol.
As he gave us a tour of the old Illinois Capitol where Abraham Lincoln served in the legislature and delivered the House Divided speech, there was much for Obama to be confident about. At age 45, he is one of only 3 black senators since Reconstruction, the first African-American president of the Harvard Law Review, a professor of constitutional law at the University of Chicago, and the author of 2 best-selling books.
This is his desk.
He is ambitious and just daring enough to invite comparisons to one of the few American presidents who was elected with even less political experience than he has.
He grew into the presidency in ways that I think nobody would have anticipated.
I know that I haven't spent a lot of time learning the ways of Washington, but I've been there long enough to know that the ways of Washington must change.
Yesterday in Springfield, he began a campaign that seems to have morphed out of his latest book tour.
We're behind you all the way.
Propelled by the media, hungry for a fresh face and a good story, he has graced the covers of Time and Newsweek, the pages of Men's Vogue, and has been endorsed by Oprah. But it has also been driven by his personal charisma.
You guys are too fired up.
And an ability to connect with people, especially young people, that is rarely seen in American politics.
I love you back.
He has challenged the post-baby boom generation to cast aside its cynicism of politics and engage the system. In this speech at George Mason University, he evoked Martin Luther King.
The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. It bends towards justice. But here's the thing, young people. It doesn't bend on its own. It bends in that direction because you decide you're going to stand up to a war that should have never been waged. It bends because you decide that we need a healthcare system for all Americans.
On the campaign trail, he is routinely received like a rock star, a far cry from the way he's treated in the corridors of power in Washington, where he is 88th on the Senate's list of seniority.
I want to read you a quote from the St. Petersburg Times. The world is too complex and dangerous for this likable, charismatic African-American neophyte to practice on-the-job training.
Right.
Why are you in such a hurry? Why not?
You know, the truth is I'm not. We have a narrow window to solve some of the problems that we face. 10 years from now, we may not be in a position to recover the sense of respect around the world that we've lost over the last 6 years. Certainly when you look at our energy policy and environment and the prospects of climate change, we've got to make some decisions right now. And so I feel a sense of urgency for the country.
He is a left-of-center Democrat who favors abortion rights, universal health care, and wants to roll back tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. He's the only major presidential candidate who opposed the Iraq War before it began and wants to withdraw most U.S. troops by March of next year. He would redeploy some of them to Afghanistan, keep others in the region to protect strategic U.S. interests.
The need to bring this war to an end is here.
Would you talk to Iran or Syria?
Yes. The notion that this administration has that not talking to our enemies is effective punishment is wrong. It flies in the face of our experience during the Cold War. Ronald Reagan understood that it may be an evil empire, but it's worthwhile for us to periodically meet to see, are there areas of common interest?
In the Senate, he has shown a talent and a willingness to reach across party lines and work with Republicans and conservatives to build consensus.
Okay, man. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.
He says it's an essential trait for a president and considers it one of his strengths, the product of an unconventional childhood. He was born in 1961 to a father from Kenya and a mother from Kansas who were both students in Hawaii at a time when black-white marriages were illegal in half the states. His father left when he was 2 and eventually returned to Africa. And as a young boy, Obama spent 4 years living with his mother and her second husband in Indonesia before returning home to live with his maternal grandparents in Honolulu. As a black child in a white family, he struggled with his racial identity.
How important is race in defining yourself?
I am rooted in the African American community, but I'm not defined by it. I am comfortable in my racial identity, but that's not all I am.
I mean, your mother was white, your father was African.
Right.
You were raised in a white household.
Right.
Yet at some point you decided that you were black.
Well, I'm not sure I decided it. I think, if you look African American in this society, you're treated as an African American, and when you're a child in particular, that is how you begin to identify yourself.
While he graduated with honors from Columbia and Harvard Law, he says the most valuable part of his education was the 3 years he spent on the south side of Chicago, earning $13,000 a year as a community organizer for a group of churches.
I worked out of the basement right here in Holy Rosary Church. You can make a left here. This is Augell Gardens, which is a public housing project.
It was Obama's first real experience with urban politics and the problems of the inner city. Yet for some African Americans, he remains an outsider, an immigrant son, not the descendant of slaves.
There are African Americans who don't think that you're black enough, who don't think that you have had the required experience.
The truth of the matter is, when I'm walking down the south side of Chicago and visiting my barber shop and playing basketball in some of these neighborhoods, those aren't questions I get asked.
They think you're black.
As far as they can tell. Yeah. I also notice when I'm catching a cab, nobody's confused about that either.
He doesn't like it, but it's something he had to come to terms with a long time ago.
You think the country's ready for a black president?
Yes.
You don't think it's going to hold you back?
No. I think if I don't win this race, it will be because of other factors. It's going to be because I have not shown to the American people a vision for where the country needs to go that they can embrace.
There's one poll that shows Hillary Clinton is leading 53 to 27 among African Americans. Are you surprised by that? Are you disappointed by that?
Not at all. I think that there is an assumption on the part of some commentators that somehow the black community is so unsophisticated that the minute you put an African American face up on the screen that they automatically say, that's our guy. A black candidate has to earn black votes the same way that he's got to earn white votes, and that's exactly how it should be.
And he has done it in Chicago, where he began his political career after meeting and marrying Michelle Robinson, another Harvard Law School graduate, 14 years ago. She's an executive with the University of Chicago Hospitals, and they have 2 children, Malia, who's 8, and Sasha, 5.
What else does he make besides tuna fish?
Chili, and that's it.
They are interested in their father's campaign only to the extent that it influences their campaign to get a dog.
Their only memory of the White House when they made the tour was President Bush's dog. So that was their main focus, was the possibility.
This is our in.
This is our in, because they've been angling for this dog for a long time.
Good. All right, you run for president, but if we get a dog, we don't care what you do.
Yeah.
Michelle, on the other hand, did care, and Obama had to persuade his wife to let him run. Political campaigns make her feel like a single mother.
Has it put strains on the marriage from time to time?
Oh, no.
Absolutely, it has.
But you let him go ahead and do this?
I think if I weren't married to him, I'd want him to be in there. So I don't want to stand in the way of that because we have to work out a few things. We've had those arguments, and
I've lost them all.
This is a tough question to ask. But a number of years ago, Colin Powell was thinking about running for president. And his wife, Alma, really did not want him to run. She was worried about some crazy person with a gun. Is that something that you think about?
I don't lose sleep over it because the realities are is that, as a black man, Barack can get shot going to the gas station. So you can't, you can't make decisions based on fear and the possibility of what might happen. We just weren't raised that way.
And there are other concerns, the loss of privacy and people poking around in their closets looking for skeletons. Obama has already opened the door on a few.
I want to ask you a question about your past. I mean, you've been very frank in your books with, particularly the first book, with your language.
Yeah, don't quote those on the air. You'll get fined.
I don't think I can. Yeah, right. And about your drug use when you were in high school and college, that you smoked marijuana and inhaled.
Right. I did.
And did a little blow, as you put it, when you could afford it. Explain that. Why did you do it?
Well, I think it was typical of a teenager who was confused about who he was and what his place in the world was, and thought that experimenting with drugs was a way to rebel. It's not something that I'm proud of.
Do you regret in any way that you were so candid?
No, I don't. I mean, I think one of the things about national politics is this attempt to airbrush your life, and it's exhausting, right? This is who I am. This is where I've come from, and if we have problems in this campaign, I suspect it's not going to be because of mistakes I've made in the past. I think it's going to be mistakes that I make in the future.
Until recently, he did admit to still having one vice, but he was forced to give it up as the quid pro quo for running.
Smoking.
Yes.
Are we rolling?
Cut. Keith, you out of tape? No, all right.
Smoking.
Yes.
You don't like it?
I hate it. That's why he doesn't do it anymore. Proud to say. I outed him I'm the one to out him on the smoking. That was one of my prerequisites for, entering into this race, is that, he couldn't be a smoking president.
So now he's a non-smoker.
Well, he's, how does that work?
It's like a recovering,
Right,
it's like an alcoholic, right?
So he's going to have a lot of people watching.
Absolutely. Please, America, watch. Keep an eye on him and call me if you see him smoking.
It's not the only thing people will be watching for over the next 2 years.
Let us transform this nation.
It's the beginning of a long examination in which every utterance will be scrutinized, every speech dissected, every gaffe and foible magnified for close inspection to determine whether he is up to the task.
It's possible that, after we go through this whole process, that the voters conclude, you know what, he's not ready. And I respect that. I don't expect that simply because I can move people in speeches, that automatically qualifies me for this job. I think that I have to be tested and run through the paces, and I have to earn this job.